Today I show you 3 graphic animations in Fusion, and after you have learned these visual techniques, you will be able to create an endless amount of super high quality animations for your short videos or Instagram Reels. So let's not wait any longer and jump right into the first one. To begin with, I first have to change my timeline resolution to make a vertical video. So let's click on File, Project Settings, and check this box, Use Vertical Resolution. Save. Now you can see our view is already in a vertical orientation. Then I will go to the media pool and drag in my custom-made grid background. If you want to know how to create such a background, watch this video in the info card. After expanding our background on the timeline, let's drag in our Fusion composition and place it on top of it. Now jump into the Fusion tab. In here we will get a background node and a multi-merge node, and connect the background mode to the multi-merge node and the multi-merge node to our media out. Then we can click on the background node and reduce the alpha value so the background has an opacity of 0. In the next step I will get a spline node and a background node and connect the spline node into the blue input of our background node. Then I will drag the background node onto the multi-merge. On the background node, I will change the color to white. Now, let's zoom a little bit out, and with the spline selected, let's draw a line right through our frame, from the bottom to the top. Then head over to the inspector and under the border width, increase it slightly. If you zoom in, you can see this creates a width on our spline. Let's give it a thickness of 0.02. Then I will click on the background node, copy it and paste it. On the second background node, I will get an ellipse mask and place it on top of it. Connect this also to the media merge. With the ellipse node selected, you can right click the height and click expression. Now you can see there's this plus icon, and if you click and hold, you can drag it onto the width. Now, if we change the width, the height changes accordingly and our circle always stays a circle and never goes into an ellipse. Let's use the circle, maybe scale it a little bit down and position it a little bit more to the left. And vertically, let's keep it in the middle. Now let's take both these nodes and copy and paste them 2 times and connect it to the multi-merge. The first ellipse I will drag a little bit to the top. So let's move it to 0.85. The second ellipse, let's move it to 0.25. Nope, to 0.15. Now they are spread evenly, and now we can add our text labels. So let's get a text node connected to our multi-merge and type in some text. I will change the H anchor to left so we can control where our text starts at the left point. Maybe let's change the font type and increase the size a little bit and place it next to our point. Now we can copy and paste this again and move it down and 1 up. We don't need these merge nodes which were created automatically. We can connect them all right into the multi-merge node. Now let's change the text on our points to 0.123, like this. And I have an idea. We can take 0.2, change the H anchor to right and move it to the left. Now we have a more balanced composition. So now we can create our animations. Let's click on the spline and go to frame 0 and drag the length all the way down to 0. Click on the animation keyframe, and then let's go to frame 100 and drag it all the way up. Okay, after replaying, I saw that it's too slow. So let's get into the spline and click this button to show all keyframes. And I've selected the wrong one. The length is the correct one. And let's move it more to the left, maybe to frame 30. Yeah, that seems good. Now we have to create our animation for our points, and I want them to just scale up. So let's use a transform node, and let's check where the line is on the second point. It's about here. So let's set a keyframe on the size. Then let's go a few frames to the front and decrease the size to 0. Now, with this transform selected, we can go back to the spline, and you can see both of these keyframes. And if you select both of them and press S, you smooth them out, and then you can press T and increase the ease in and ease out values. I will use 50 for both of them. And now, instead of copying the transform and then having to move the pivot and the keyframes, we can delete our second 2 ellipses and just copy the whole 3 nodes and place them here. And now move the point with the transform node. So let's move it up here. And then we can go to the spline and move the keyframes to the correct point in time, which is here. And let's do the same thing for the first point. Copy and paste it, connect it, click on a transform, go to the spline, move the cursor to the correct time point, and drag them to the front. And we have to position it down here too. Okay, now we have to animate a text. Let's select our first text. The point starts to increase at frame 4. So let's go to the text, and in the inspector there's our write on function. And let's animate this. So if we are at frame 4, we want to be the write on at 0. And maybe at frame 8 it will be on 1. Let's do the same thing for the second text, but this time we need to do it from the other side. So let's animate the write on, but take the left slider and drag it all the way to the right. And 4 frames later, we will drag it all the way to the left. And for the last text, animate, 4 frames later, and animate. And now, to make it visually more appealing, I will add a soft glow node with shift space and place it after the multi-merge node. And because it's way too strong, let's decrease the gain to a reasonable value. And that's it for the first animation. The second animation, we will have a background node and a multi-merge node again and connect them. Same thing as last time. Let's reduce the alpha to 0, get another background node, and this time we will get a rectangle mask. connect it to the blue input of the background node and connect this one to the multi-merge. Let's change the background color to white again. And on the rectangle, let's try to match the height and the width. So it's a square. I think this looks pretty close to a square. Then go to frame 20, place a keyframe on the angle attribute, then move the playhead back to frame 0, and then change the angle to minus 360 times the amount of rotations you want. In my case it's 4, and press enter. And in the same time frame we will animate the corner radius. So let's go to frame 20, place a keyframe on the corner radius at the value 0, then move the cursor to frame 0 and increase the corner radius all the way up, so it's a circle. We will get another rectangle and place it in between the rectangle and the background node. And let's change the paint mode to subtract. Then we will change the width to all the way up 1 and the height to 0. And after our rotating animation finishes at frame 20, we can animate the height of our second rectangle. So let's place a keyframe on the height at value 0, then move our cursor to frame 30 and increase the height so all of our rectangle is gone. And I think we can make it even faster, maybe frame 26, increase it and delete the keyframe after this. And on the spline, I will move both of these keyframes a little bit to the right, so we have a small delay between the rotation stopping and our rectangle disappearing. Okay, on the spline, we can also smooth out our animation, select that second animation point and press S and then T to increase the ease in value. And I will click on the first rectangle and smooth out the animation too. So let's press S and just increase the ease in value slightly to about 50. Now that's way too much, but I don't want to decrease the ease in value, so let's select both rectangles, go to the spline, and let's just move these animation keyframes a little bit back. And now we have to add our text, which will be revealed. So let's just get a text node, connect it to the multi-merge, and let's type out secret. I will use Montserrat again and increase the font size. The frame before it fully disappears, I will place a keyframe on the size of our secret text. Then I will move a few frames to the front and increase the secret text so it fits our screen. Let's move this out on the spline again with S and ease in value. And now we can play our animation back. And we will do the same thing as in our animation before. I will add a soft glow node between the multi-merge and the media out and reduce the gain. Now we are already coming to our last animation. We will make our basic setup again with our background and the multi-merge node. Make the background invisible. And this time we will have to go to the media pool and add two of our images, a rocket and the moon. And I will connect both of them to the multi-merge. Let's check. The top one is the moon, okay. So let's hook a transform to it and decrease it in size. Let's add a soft glow node, but this time only to the moon. And let's disconnect the rocket so we can see what we are doing. Increase the gain like this. And let's make a keyframe on the first frame on the angle at 0. Then maybe go to frame 100 and just slightly rotate it, maybe even less. Then we will hit Shift Space and search for Mask Paint, and we will connect this to a background node and connect this to the multi-merge. The background node will be white again, and the Mask Paint will change the tool to this one, and now I will paint a path around our moon. Maybe something like this. And now let's animate this too. Let's expand the stroke controls. And then there's this write-on function we can use to animate it. So let's pull it all the way back and place a keyframe on frame 0. And maybe on frame 50, we will move it all the way up. Now you can see our stroke is just a line, but we can also change this. Let's increase the spacing all the way to 1. And now you can see dots. And if we expand the brush controls, you can make these dots even sharper and change the size. I will scale them down and have it like this. And now we want to connect our space shuttle to our dotted line. And let's give this space shuttle a transform and connect it to the multi-merge node and scale it down to about this size. And now click on the mask paint, and we want to connect our spaceship to our stroke. So down here, right click this and press publish. Then you can head over to our transform of the spaceship, and on the center attribute you can press path. Then there's this modifiers tab, and you can right click here again and connect it to our polyline stroke value. Now you can see this path is not the same as our painted path. It's a little bit smaller. That's because our spaceship image has not the same resolution as our background. So let's get a multi-merge node and connect our background to it. Then connect our spaceship and connect this to the transform node. Now our spaceship sits on our line, but it still doesn't move because on our transform node, on the modifiers, if you click on a path, there's this displacement. And let's remove the animation keyframe, and you can see if we change this, the spaceship flies around our moon. So let's animate this. Go to frame 0, put it to 0, and at frame 50 we will put it to 1. And now if we play back, our spaceship flies with our dotted line. We still need to change our rotation of our rocket. We have to do this by hand, but we can do it quickly. So let's go to frame 10, go back to the tools of our transform node, and before we place an animation keyframe on 10, we will go back to frame 0, place one keyframe. Then let's go to frame 10, change the angle, so our rocket is on our line. Let's move it a bit further adjust the angle. And you can do this as detailed as you want. I will just do it on a rough shape, but it already seems quite good. And now our rocket flies around our moon. If you change the path, you can see our rocket adjusts to it. Now let's give these elements a soft clone or two. Copy and paste it to the rocket and adjust the strength. And let's copy and paste it and put it on our brush. And I will take this brush and change the color to a less bright color. And that's it for our animations.